Hello, this is a revision video for Before You Were Mine by Carol Ann Duffy for AQA GCSE. As always, it's not intended to be a substitute for your own notes or interpretations. It's merely supposed to be a short and fairly simple analysis which you might be able to use for revision. I'm going to read the poem and give you a few pointers as we go through stanza by stanza. I'm 10 years away from the corner you laugh on with your pals Maggie McGeaney and Jean Duff. The three of you bend from the waist, holding each other, or your knees, and shriek at the pavement. Your polka-dot dress blows round your legs. Marilyn. I'm not here yet. The thought of me doesn't occur in the ballroom with the 1,000 eyes, the fizzy movie tomorrows the right walk home could bring. I knew you would dance like that. Before you were mine, your ma stands at the close with a hiding for the late one. You reckon it's worth it. The decade ahead of my loud, possessive yell was the best one, eh? I remember my hands in those high-heeled red shoes, relics, and now your ghost clatters toward me over George Square till I see you, clear as scent, under the tree, with its lights, and whose small bites on your neck, sweetheart? Cha-cha-cha! You teach me the steps on the way home from Mass, stamping stars from the wrong pavement. Even then, I wanted the bold girl winking in Portobello, somewhere in Scotland, before I was born. That glamorous love lasts where you sparkle and waltz and laugh before you were mine. So this is a speaker reflecting on what her mother's life was like before she was born. And the speaker is encountering relics of her mother's previous life. This poem is by Carol Ann Duffy, and she is awesome. And if you get the chance to check out any of her other poems, you really should do so because she is fantastic. She's been Poet Laureate since 2009. And before that, much before that, she was born in Scotland and moved to Stafford when she was 6. She frequently writes about oppression, gender, and violence. And she is not just Poet Laureate, but she is the first female Poet Laureate. She's the first Scottish Poet Laureate, and she is the first openly LGBT Poet Laureate, to my knowledge. So Before You Were Mine starts off with a possessive direct address. So mine is very possessive of her mother, and I think throughout the poem the speaker is very aware of this fact and is very intrigued by the life that her mother had before she was alive, before he was alive. And you've got direct address as well. This is speaking directly to the mother and personally to the mother, which I think lends this poem a more personal, recollective tone. So I'm 10 years away from the corner you laugh on with your pals Maggie McGeaney and Jean Duff. So it's very informal and conversational. And I like the way that the details make the scene appear realistic with the actual names of the friends. The scene that is depicted is 3 young women messing around on the pavement with their dresses blowing around in the wind. So if you've ever looked at a picture of your parents before you were born, it's very interesting to think about what their life would have been like before you were on the scene. And that's exactly what the speaker is doing in this poem. Senses, I think, are used really extensively and effectively. So the idea of shrieking, you get this idea of the sensory aspect of this poem, the idea of the wind blowing through the dresses, and I think that makes it quite a vivid scene. The poem ends with a minor sentence, a one-word sentence, Marilyn, and she's comparing her mother here to Marilyn Monroe, who's a very famous film star, and there's the iconic photo of her standing on the air vent and holding her dress down, and so I think that image is particularly evocative. But Marilyn was also a really glamorous, fabulous woman, and I think comparing her mother to that shows how much respect she has. It's almost as if she's comparing her to a Hollywood film star, sort of romanticizing the life before the speaker was born. Having it as a minor sentence as well makes the reader stop and contemplate a little bit with the caesura, with the pause that's created before moving on to the next stanza. I'm not here yet. So you've got present tense. It's slipping in and out of the past. The thought of me doesn't occur in the ballroom with 1,000 eyes. Could be a disco ball. Or it could be just that the mother is the subject of attention, that everybody's looking at her because she's so beautiful. The fizzy movie tomorrows the right walk home could bring. So this sense of optimism, this sense of going out at the weekend and not knowing what your future's got in store for you, this beautiful idea of youth and hope and future. I knew you would dance like that. Before you were mine, your ma stands at the close with a hiding for the late one. You reckon it's worth it. So the mother in this poem is being punished for staying out late. And so you've got actually the idea of another generation added and her mother standing there waiting for her while the mother hasn't even entertained the thought of being a mother herself yet. And I think that's a really interesting use of that extra generation, that extra stage. The decade ahead of my loud, possessive yell was the best one, eh? So you've got rhetorical questions used in this stanza to add to that further sort of conversational sense. The speaker directly refers to herself as being possessive too. The idea that when they were born, they changed their mother's life, which I know sounds quite obvious, but it seems that Duffy's narrator was really reflecting on what happened and how that was changed and all of the things that were different once motherhood had started. I remember my hands in those high-heeled red shoes, relics. So the idea of a relic being something outdated, something from the past. And now your ghost clatters toward me over George Square till I see you clear as scent. So it's synesthesia here. It's the blending of senses and scent as well, evoking memory. And the idea that actually if you smell someone's perfume, it can really remind you of certain details. And scent really is connected with memory. Under the tree with its lights and whose small bites on your neck, sweetheart. So again, a further rhetorical question. Cha-cha-cha. So you've got the epizoic, it's invigorating and dynamic, that repetition of a single word, and the exclamation mark as well to add to that. You teach me the steps on the way home from mass. So this is really lovely in the way that her mother is taking her previous life, and then you can see the effects of it carried out in her mothering, stamping stars from the wrong pavement. So you've got another pavement reference here. So you can reference back to line 4 when she was stood with her friends shrieking on the pavement. Even then, I wanted the bold girl winking in Portobello somewhere in Scotland before I was born. So this is an impossible envy. You can never experience what your parents experienced before you were born. It's paradoxical. So this sort of sadness and this envy is not going to be realised. You can't possibly solve that. That glamorous love lasts where you sparkle and waltz and laugh before you are mine. So you've got the idea of the polysyndeton, the repetition of and, really enhancing those words, sparkle, waltz, laugh. And I like the idea that glamorous love is lasting. So there's still an essence of her mother's life, and she's bringing that with her. She continues to be that person. There's still that sense of sparkle and waltz and laughter. And I think it's a really, really lovely poem, all in all. In terms of form and structure, you've got 5 regular stanzas, which could symbolise the regularity of time passing. The poem's written in free verse. There's no fixed rhyme scheme, which makes it, I think, conversational and personal. And you've got frequent references to possession, but also frequent references to light and stars throughout. So this is almost an intriguing exploration of what her mother's life was like, and I think a sense of sadness that the speaker won't be able to experience that, and almost a jealousy and a possessiveness that comes from being somebody's child. Thank you.